Now, have you ever sat back before in your chair and thought to yourself, man, how do actors go and pick certain movies that they're in? Or why do they want to be a part of particular franchises or certain projects? Well, a lot of that has to do with money, because certain projects and certain types of movies actually end up making the most money in Hollywood. And I want to talk to you about the finances because nobody's ever talked about it before. So then you can get a little bit more of an understanding of Hollywood, how the movie industry works, and how and why actors pick certain movies over others. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So right off the bat, let's go ahead and look at what are some of the biggest movies that have made the most money. I'm coming from the standpoint of, let's say, the $1 billion mark. There's been a certain amount of movies out there that have made $1 billion. Which type of movies have gone out there and been able to achieve that? Well, so far, there's been 53 movies that have been able to achieve that $1 billion mark, where we're incorporating money that's been grossed worldwide. So if we go ahead and look at this whole list that we have here of all these movies, there's only been 53 of them. Now, there's a common factor between these 53 movies. Now, if you look at this list, can you tell me what it is? The common factor for this is that they all belong, majority-wise, to different franchises, meaning there's the Marvel franchise, there's the Fast and Furious, there's the Harry Potters. All these movies, when they're a part of a franchise, end up making the most amount of money. And that's why a lot of actors want to go and be a part of these franchises. Another benefit of being in a franchise that maybe you never thought about before is that it keeps your name as an actor relevant, and it keeps bringing you back for a project that people love. Meaning, as an actor, you do want to be careful of the type of movies that you're in. You've probably heard this before. As an actor, you want to always make sure you're a part of good projects. But now, what happens if you have 3, 4, 5 projects in a row that flop or don't do very well? Well, it's very easy for you to just get kicked out of Hollywood. Except if you're a part of a franchise. Meaning, let's say, for example, Tom Holland. There's been certain movies that he's done that haven't turned out maybe the best, but he's always able to come back to being Spider-Man, Peter Parker. So he can have his Spider-Man movies, everybody watches it, everybody loves him. He can have 5 bad movies in a row because at the end of the day, he's gonna come back to doing Spider-Man. Now, here's another interesting fact that you've probably never thought about before. When you think about movies and they're hitting that $1 billion mark, that's a lot of money. But where is that money all coming from? So let's say, for example, Avengers Endgame. It made close to $2.8 billion. Now, how much of that came from the US? And then how much of that came internationally? What would you say? Leave it in the comment section below. I think you're going to be surprised by this, and you're going to find a pattern through these movies that we look at. So for Avengers Endgame, for example, 30% of it came domestically. Close to 70% of it came internationally. If we take a look at Jurassic World, 39% of it came domestically, 60% of it came internationally. Let's go ahead and look at another one at Furious 7. Well, Furious 7, it went ahead and made 23% domestically and 76% internationally. So that's a really big thing. When people are making movies, they can't just think about it from the domestic terms. A lot of times they're also thinking internationally at the same time. So far what we know, okay, franchises where they're making sequels and prequels tend to do very well, and it can sustain and give longevity for an actor. Ultimately, this is what I would recommend to somebody if they're getting headway in this industry and they're getting lucky and they're getting their foot in the door. As quick as you can, try to get a part of one of these franchises. It ends up being able to be something that can help you the most throughout your career. An interesting thing is, if we go ahead and look at the genres now, what type of genres tend to do very well in Hollywood? Well, if we can look at this here, and all of this information is coming from Box Office Mojo, we can see that adaptations tend to do very well. Now, they're getting these numbers not internationally, they're getting these more from US and from Canada, so we're not going out very far, but these numbers will probably still be the same even if we went internationally. But adaptations make $75 billion of revenue. Adventure movies make $72 billion. Superhero movies make $26 billion. Animations make $33 billion. Now, when you see adventure and superhero movies, they're kind of the same thing. You have superhero movies that also have an adventure in it, like say with Avengers Endgame, there's an adventure of travel in space. In terms of adaptations, that's also including comic books in there, so that's why that number is big. But if we go and look at something else, say for example, if we take a look at sports movies. Sports movies, they make a total of $11 billion. Now, there's been a lot of different sports movies made out there, of course, but what do we see today? Do we see more sports movies being made today, or do we see more adventure movies being made today, more superhero movies being made today? Well, we see more of the superhero and adventure movies, and the reason for that being is simply because of the income that comes in. It makes more money, so producers and studios want to ultimately get as much money as possible. Typically speaking, if we go money-wise, adventure movies tend to make the most money, meaning that there's more eyeballs, more tickets being sold typically for those type of movies. Really interesting thing to think about, and that's why actors will go and pick certain movies over others, because they have some of these qualities that say other movies can't bring or can't give them. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the brands out there. Let's look at the top 10 brands, and these are typically the brands, if you're an actor, you want to be in. Again, we're looking at all of this just from the dollar perspective because it's measurable. Typically where the money's flowing to is where the eyeballs are flowing to, which means actors can get seen, which means they can get hired more because they have more popularity to themselves. So some of the top 10 brands out there, there's the Marvel Comics, there's Legendary Pictures, DC Comics, Lucasfilm, Pixar, DreamWorks Animation, Illumination Entertainment, Vertigo Entertainment, Bad Robot, and Walt Disney Animation Studios. These are the top 10. This is what history shows us. And that was in chronological order according to Box Office Mojo. Now, what if we wanted to go and look at the franchises? What are the big franchises out there? Well, obviously, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the top one. From US and Canada alone, it's made $11 billion. That's a lot of money that it's bringing in. It's more than twice as much as what Star Wars is bringing in. So it's the top one. That's why so many actors want to be a part of that Marvel Cinematic Universe. These are some of the biggest franchises out there. Of course, as time goes on, we're going to see other franchises grow and expand even more, but these are the numbers that are here today. And just think about it. If you're an actor and you're starting to make headway, which adventure movies are you going to try and be a part of? Which franchises are you going to try and go into if you're trying to, again, get the most amount of eyeballs? I think I just read something that Scarlett Johansson now is going from one franchise, which was the Marvel Universe, and now she's going to be in the Jurassic World franchise, which is another very good one to be a part of. You know, Chris Pratt has done a very good job at this. Think about all the franchises he's been a part of. He's been a part of the Cinematic Universe. He's been a part of the Lego movie. He's been a part of Jurassic World. He's also been a part of the Super Mario's movie, which is going to be expanding and growing even more. That right there is already 4 franchises that he's been a part of. He can do any project that he wants in between those ones, because even if they happen to flop, he still has those movies to go back to. Now, the last thing that I want to look at here, movie ratings. So this is also a factor when people go and choose what franchises or movies to do, is what is the rating of the movie? Because depending on the rating of the movie, it may gain more eyeballs or it may gain less eyeballs. And also depending on the rating of the movie, the ratings that we have are rated G, rated PG, rated PG-13, rated R, NC-17. So I have a question for all of you, and I want you to leave it down in the comment section below. This is going to be a little game that we have. Out of the movies, we have 53 movies out there that have made $1 billion worldwide. Out of those movies, which category do you think that they fall into the most? Meaning, do you think that there's 25 movies that have made $1 billion all rated G? Or do you think there's 15 movies all rated R that have made over $1 billion? Which one do you think has had the most movies that have made $1 billion in them? So the rating that has the least amount, with 0 movies that have reached that $1 billion mark in their rating, is movies that are rated NC-17. The highest grossing movie rated NC-17, it has made only $67 million. If you're an actor and you're trying to develop your career and you want to be a part of a big project, being a part of an NC-17 movie is not the way to go. The numbers don't match up. They don't line up. There's never been one movie that has made over $67 million. You don't have a $68 million, $69 million movie that has been rated NC-17, but we have many, even in the billion markers that we're talking about here, are close to that billion marker. So NC-17 ends up doing the worst, and it makes sense because a lot of parents aren't going to go and allow their child to go and see those type of movies, meaning you eliminate a huge amount of your audience. You eliminate that younger audience, 5, 10, 15-year-olds that aren't going to see those movies because their parents won't allow them. So NC-17 had 0. There's one that has only 1. Movies that are rated R, there's only been 1 movie ever that have reached that $1 billion mark, and that is The Joker. Again, the same thing applies as the NC-17. More people can go and see that movie and they're willing to go and see The Joker. But again, you you're eliminating a huge amount of audience members. You're eliminating those 5, 10, 15-year-olds who maybe don't want to go and see those movies, or the parents don't want their child to go and see those movies. Now, obviously, the Joker did very well. It made over $1 billion. It's a success, but it's only one movie that has made $1 billion in the rated R category, where the other ones have many more. So now if we go ahead and take a look at the next one, in third place, that's going to be movies that are rated G. This one surprised me, actually. Rated G movies, when I was thinking about this before I did the research, I thought that maybe rated G was going to have the most. Now I understand why it doesn't, but it only has 2 movies that have been able to gain $1 billion plus. And those movies are Toy Story 3 and 4. They've been able to get past that $1 billion marker. Now, with rated G movies, it does kind of make some sense. Obviously, in all of these categories, there's many movies that have made lots of money, 900 million, 800 million, 700 million. But again, the billion is measurable. So it does make some sense for why those rated G movies, but because just as a rated R movie may go and limit audience members, rated G movies can also do that as well, where you may not get an older crowd who wants to go and necessarily watch a rated G movie, where they might think, oh, it's just too kiddish, it's just too haha, silly jokes. So you do eliminate some of those audience members as well. The one thing, though, that rated G movies do have in their benefits, and why they do so well just in general, is because you have to think about it. A kid can't go and drive to the movies and watch a movie by themselves. So when you have a child, typically there's going to be also a parent involved. And typically if there's a child, they may have a sibling or a cousin or a friend that they're bringing along. It's not always just a mom and their kid or a dad and their kid. It may be both parents and their child, which is 3 movie tickets right there. Or if you're bringing both parents and you're bringing the child and a friend, and that friend has 2 parents, all of a sudden, well, there you go. Now you have 6 people just from that. So all of this is very interesting to think about when we just go and look at the numbers aspect of it. But rated G happened to be number 3. Now, what's in second place is PG movies, with 14 movies that have been in that $1 billion marker. So there's movies like Lion King, Frozen 2, Super Mario's. Now again, this is starting to make a little bit more sense. PG movies are open to a little bit more of a wider audience. A lot of kids want to go and see PG movies. Parents don't mind watching these movies, so they're going to take the kids, and then they all get to enjoy it and watch it together. Maybe some of them get a little bit tired from the Frozen song, but it's still a movie that had ended up doing really well in that $1 billion marker. And the numbers don't lie. There's been 14 movies for those PG ratings. Now, the one that has ended up obviously doing the best, because it's the last one left, are PG-13 movies. PG-13 movies, there's been 36 movies that have reached that $1 billion marker. So Avatar, Avengers, Jurassic World, Spider-Man, all of those type of movies have all went to go and reach that $1 billion marker. There's been 36 of them. And it makes the most sense, again, because it's open to the wider audience to see it. A lot of kids want to go and see Iron Man. A lot of teenagers want to go and see Iron Mans. A lot of adults enjoy watching the Marvel movies. They enjoy watching Avatar. A lot of people want to go and see these movies from a lot of different age ranges. So it makes the most sense because it eliminates the most amount of audience. Now, again, it is PG-13, so there is some parental guidance that is involved there. But if we go and watch, say, Spider-Man No Way Home, well, it's not really that bad of a movie. Yes, there's action. Yes, there's violence because there's fighting between superhero characters and evil villain characters. But it's not like an NC-17 type of movie that's really going to push parents and their kids away from those type of movies. So those ones end up doing the best. So now, when we look at all of these numbers and we really think about all of this, it makes sense why actors want to be a part of certain franchises, or why they get into some of these franchises, because they end up making the most amount of money. This is where the dollars go, which means it's where the eyeballs go, which means it helps sustain, grow, and build your fame to allow you to go and do other projects. Very interesting to think about. Very interesting numbers. Leave down in the comment section below, what numbers were you unaware of? What was interesting to you? What did you learn learned that you didn't know about before. It's very interesting though to look at the numbers and see this and then realize how actors and why actors choose certain roles over others. So anyways, I hope you all like this video. I hope you found it interesting. These are some statistics and some facts, and I wanted to learn about it, so I thought, why not just share it with you? If you want to know more about, say, the movie industry, or if you want to learn about the TV industry and see how some of these numbers line up, are some of these things the same, or are they different? How does that work out, or how does it work with streaming? Let me know, and then I can do a video on that, because I'm also interested in those numbers as well. All right, I'll see you later. Peace.